Good evening. Greetings from the Institute of Global Professional IGP Bangladesh. Greetings from the Institute of Global Professional IGP Bangladesh. Thank you all for joining us and staying with us till the end. Honorable Knowledge Seeker, today I am your host for the evening. My name is Bathum Dash. I am from Bangladesh. Dear Knowledge Seeker, I am proud to be associated with IGP as a global member. IGP is a social and ISO certified international training institute. In 3 years, we already served 3 million plus knowledge seekers from 100 plus countries. IGP is internationally recognized and globally accredited. We are connected to more than 250 plus profession and 4,500 plus organizations. Institute of Global Professional is a training faculty for skill development which was founded in 2020 and is generating competent candidates to meet demand in the global labor market by providing professional qualification. The Institute of Global Professional is an education institute that provides social work globally recognized and reputable. We serve student and community resource providing holistic social work and education. We believe that it's not effective to increase one skill just by acquiring formal education. So we provide effective training and consultation to generate proficient generation all over the world. We distribute our services nationally, internationally to student job seeker, job holder, and also for learner, the respective campus location and distance learning platform. We are an occupational and dependable institute. IGP is one of the famous online institutes from all over the world. Our vision is education is not a business product, it's a part of our rights. Based on our vision, we are trying to reach all corners of the world for free webinars, seminar courses about quiz competition, mentoring, and counseling, etc. On the other side, we are also trying to serve more than 100 premium service for free like create own portfolio website, resume letter, cover letter, motivation letter, and War Knowledge platform for gathering general knowledge which can upgrade all day. Kids learning game, website free course, converse sites, and many more. We help to empower you to learn to meet their expectation and dream and become highly skilled people. We implement several training program webinar and offline online courses for youth and learner by professional trainer, speaker, and coaches. Our sessions are conducted by globally renowned professionals to develop all kind of youth and to promote the education of their abilities and personalities. To ensure excellent and in-depth instruction, we arrange with qualified trainer, speaker, and instructor. We extended free services to more than 3 million knowledge seekers in last 3 years. We have affiliation with universities and organizations in 70 different countries. Virtual mouse signing with many colleges and organizations have been accomplished. We are working to create a legendary generation of future scholars who will be accountable. We are constantly prepared to assist all knowledge seekers with valuable service. Spreading knowledge is crucial for the Institute of Global Professional. We believe that knowledge is love and light and vision. So we try to understand the needs of today's generation and we serve them with good research and practice methods. We must have a genuine concern for the learner we represent. More diversity, growth, and innovation are required to lead a session with professionalism and integrity. IGP members are committed to offering effective best quality service and continual improvement so that individuals who seek information can improve their skill level and value. Before we move to the next, let me remind don't forget to share, tag, and mention your friend in the comment box. Your support is very valuable for us. Thank you. Before we move to the next, let me remind don't forget to share, tag, and mention your friend in the comment box. Your support is very valuable for us. Thank you. Moving to the next with your continuous support, we already completed 1355 webinars successfully. Wow. Moving to the next with your continuous support, we already completed 1355 webinars successfully. Wow. At present, we are going to start our 1356 webinar, which name is Anthropocene, the Age of Human Impact on Earth. And today our speaker ma'am name is Rania Lankov. She is from Greece. Before I hand over the stage to our speaker ma'am, wants to share a very little bit about her. Ministry of Education and Religious Affairs Greece, Global Educationist, author, speaker, researcher, Global Peace Ambassador, IGP Director Greece. Now, very important moment for me to invite our speaker to IGP with her presentation. Very important moment for me to invite our speaker to IGP with her presentation. Hello, ma'am. Good evening.
Warm greetings from Greece. Warmly thank IGP for this kind invitation. I would like to congratulate you for all the team for the amazing work you are doing every day, constantly, for education and service to humanity. And thank you also for the kind invitation.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, please present your presentation.
Okay, yes. So today we're going to discuss about a very interesting topic. I think it's called Anthropocene, a new human epoch. Why? Because human activity has
Ma'am,
fundamentally
we cannot
changed.
see the slides.
Yes, yes. I will share. Is it visible now?
Not yet. Yes, ma'am. You can start now.
Okay, okay. So why I chose this topic? Because we all know that the human activity has radically changed our planet, and we live on every continent, and we have directly affected at least 83% of the planet's viable land surface. So our influence has impacted everything from the makeup of ecosystems to the geochemistry of Earth, from the atmosphere to the ocean. Many scientists define this time in the planet's history by the scale of human influence and label it as the new geological epoch called the Anthropocene. I will start from I think, magical informational documentary. If you haven't watched it so far, I strongly encourage you to watch it. It's called Anthropocene, the Human Epoch. This documentary was produced in 2018. It's a stunning, we could say, sensory experience, which captures alarming ways in which Earth's natural beauty has been disturbed. And this is also a reflection on humanity's massive reengineering of the planet, because rather than exalting the beauty of landscapes or animals, this documentary captures these frightening ways in which this beauty has been disturbed. This movie follows the research of an international body of scientists, the Anthropocene Working Group, who, after nearly 10 years of research, argued that the Holocene epoch gave way to the Anthropocene epoch in the mid 20th century as a result of profound and lasting human changes to the Earth. Anthropocene Working Group is this team of scientists in 2016 recommended a formal declaration of the end of the Earth's Holocene epoch, which began approximately 12,000 years ago. So this group of scientists argue that we are now in a new geologic phase, this time when humans now change the Earth more than all the planet's natural processes combined. So in this, during this documentary, you can see scenes from continent to continent. This depicts the scale of disruptions. We can see scenes from Norilsk in Russia, for instance, is the most polluted city with the production of palladium and other metals. You can see scenes from lithium poles in the Atacama Desert, a landfill in Kenya, and all example of things like terraforming, deforestation of our old growth forests, agriculture and mining, technofossils, when we have all these human-created objects like plastics and concrete, and the extinction, the loss of elephants and rhinos in Africa at the hands of aggressive poaching for their ivory and tusks. So, since of cities who shows the impact of deforestation on air quality, and other frightening stories that it's interesting that if you have the chance opportunity to watch this documentary, it will be very interesting for you. So, what is the Anthropocene? Is this period in the Earth's history during which human activity has been the dominant influence on climate and environment. It's an informal geological, chronological term that actually marks the evidence and the extent of the human activities that have had a significant global impact on the Earth's ecosystems. So it's an official unit of geologic time used to describe the most recent period in Earth's history when human activity started to have a significant impact on the planet's climate ecosystems. And this geological epoch, when humans have had this overriding influence on Earth, it's a step closer to being formally recognized as a geological period. What is the etymology of this term? The term Anthropocene was first invented in 2000, we will see, but this derives from the two components of ancient Greek scene. Scene means geological age or epoch, and anthropo means in Greek human species, humans. So this term was first invented by Jim Stormer and was popularized by the Nobel laureate Paul Crugen. And this geological epoch, which follows the Holocene, is defined as the period, as said before, when we humans have had an overriding influence. And as we said before, this team recommended in 2016 a formal declaration of the end of the Earth's Holocene epoch, which began approximately 12,000 years ago. So the exact start of the period has not been formally agreed. A recent work published in Nature pushes for the Anthropocene to be recognized from 1610. However, not all geologists agree with this. There are many debates about what should be the date. Other scientists think that this should begin from large-scale agriculture. Others think that this should start from a surge in mining. Others with the start of the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, and others believe that first atomic bomb testing was the start. So a little bit about geography. What happens with the geological periods? Hominids, first appeared by around 6 million years ago, the Miocene epoch, which ended about 5 million years ago. And we have this evolutionary trajectory, and this takes us through the Pleistocene, and finally into the Holocene. Which is now, the suggestion of these scientists is that the Anthropocene would follow the Holocene. How this happens? Here you can see what we call geologic time scale. This is a system of chronological measurement that relates rock layers to time. For instance, now you can see we are in Holocene epoch, Quaternary period, Cenozoic era, and Phanerozoic eon. Different spans of time of this geologic time scale are usually delimited by changes in the composition of strata. The geologic history of the Earth is broken now into hierarchical chunks of time from largest to smallest. If we wanted to recognize a new geological period, there is a need for a recognizable signal in what we call rock deposits. This characterizes the time boundary. The major extinctions during the Earth's past have been the recognizable boundaries between some of the major geological time periods like the Cambrian, Permian or Cretaceous or Tertiary. The Holocene is the most recently recognized period defined in 2008 and refers to the warm period since the last ice age. This period is too recent to have fossil deposits associated with it, but it is defined by what we call chemical signature of global climatic warming in an ice core from Greenland. Here is the geologic time scale, and some important things about the Holocene epoch. We are now in this current geological epoch started when the glaciers began to retreat, marking the end of the glacial phase of the most recent ice age. Sometimes this Holocene epoch is called Anthropocene or Age of Man. And although we think of the Holocene as a warm time for the planet, we are still, remember that we are still in an ice age. This is indicated by the presence of ice caps at the poles. The planet as a whole is just an interglacial phase, as you see here. This is what does it mean in the glacial period, the glacial phase, is that is this geological interval of warmer global average temperature lasting thousands of years separates consecutive glacial periods within an ice age. And this period is characterized the Holocene epoch, it's spread of forests, of shrinkage of forests as mankind's demand for timber and agricultural land. So all this debate, you can see again this geologic time scale, and here are some other images. So we said that in 2016, the working group agreed that the Anthropocene is different from the Holocene. And these scientists think that this begins in 1950, when the great acceleration started, a dramatic increase in human population. I forgot to say that this group was established by Subcommission on Quaternary Stratigraphy, which is a part of the International Commission on Stratigraphy. And this group focuses on identifying a definite, this is what they search a geologic marker, or what we call golden spike, which is technically called as a global boundary stratotype section and point. Until December 2021, neither this International Commission on Stratigraphy nor the International Union of Geological Sciences has officially approved this term of Anthropocene as a recognized subdivision of geologic time, although they voted in 2016 to proceed towards a more formal, as I said before, golden spike proposal to define this new epoch in the geologic time scale, and presented this recommendation to the International Geological Congress in August 2016. So we all know what happens today. How is the planet today? Planet's carbon nitrogen cycles, this biodiversity, the product of millions of years of slow evolution. All this now have been radically disrupted by human activity. Development of agriculture, industrial revolution in the middle of 20th century have both been proposed as start dates, as I said before, for Anthropocene. And the other proposal that I mentioned is this group of scientists who say that this should start with the Great Acceleration in 1915, when there was a huge increase in global population, an explosion in the use of plastics, and the collapse of agricultural diversity. If we see also, we go back in 1870s, an Italian geologist, which is named Stoppani, proposed that people had introduced a new era, which he labeled as Anthropozoic. His proposal was ignored because it was considered as non-scientific. On the other hand, the Anthropocene, when it was first mentioned, we could say it struck a chord because human impacts on the world are now more obvious. And of course, why? Because the size of population has already been radically increased to nearly billions now. So in 2002, when Crugen wrote up this Anthropocene idea in the journal Nature, the concept was picked up by researchers and started to appear regularly in the scientific press, such as global analysis of river systems, from Earth system controls to Anthropocene syndromes. It's interesting to find these papers. And the group agreed to look at it as a formal problem in geology. So how this Anthropocene could satisfy the criteria used for naming a new epoch? Epochs are relatively short time spans, though they can extend for tens of millions of years. The boundaries between, of course, periods last much longer and eras also longer still. The boundaries between epochs are defined by changes preserved in sedimentary rocks, the emergence of one type of commonly fossilized organism or the disappearance of another. The rock record of the present doesn't exist yet, of course. So the question could be how we can prove that the human impact actually shows up as stratigraphically significant. How this could gain the level of geological significance. Other scientists said that before proposed that the invention of agriculture was that this epoch started from the invention of agriculture and the deforestation that resulted, and this led to an increase in atmospheric carbon dioxide. And other scientists put the beginning of effort of this new epoch in the middle of the 20th century. It's interesting to see that these scientists have discovered Crawford Lake. Crawford Lake is it's interesting why because it's so small and it takes just 10 minutes to stroll it all the way around its shore, but beneath its surface, this point in southern Ontario in Canada hides something special. The mud layers in this lake could be ground zero for this Anthropocene, and this could actually help them define a new potential new epoch of geological time. So we can say that we have not yet reached the start of the Anthropocene, but not because we haven't had a dramatic impact on the planet, but because the next several decades are likely to prove even more stratigraphically significant than the past few centuries. So many debates about this. This lake that you see here is unusually deep for its size, so its waters never fully mixed, which leaves its bottom undisturbed. Layers of sediment accumulate like tree rings, creating an archive reaching back nearly 1,000 years. And what is the image of our planet nowadays? We all know that humans have influenced the planet, and how is this influence look like? The most important is we all know about greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide caused by fossil fuel combustion and industrial processes. All these are concentrated in our atmosphere, and all these cause heat to become trapped on Earth and result in rising global temperature. The projected estimate for mean surface temperature increase by 2100 is 6 approximately to 8 degrees, which would make Earth hotter than it's been in 14 million years. And also ice cap melt will cause sea levels to rise to levels where many cities will be at very high risk of flooding, and natural disasters, of course, will cause damage to our communities at catastrophic levels on a much more regular basis. Forests are shrinking at a very quick pace. Every year we lose a swath of forest every year, and if temperature rise, at least 20 to 40% of Earth's animal diversity will be at increased risk of extinction. And all of these problems are exacerbated by the growth of the human population, which has more than doubled in the last 50 years. However, climate change is one of the most visible parts of the Anthropocene. It does not paint, we could say, the whole picture of our influence. I mean that everything from damming rivers to paving roads to illuminating public spaces, everything has changed the physical makeup of the planet in some aspect, creating a world that has truly been shaped by humans. We can see how we build our cities, how we try to build. Most cities are not appropriate for long-term preservation for the simple reason that they are built on land, and on land the forces of erosion tended to win out over those of sedimentation. So from a geologic perspective, the most plainly visible human effects on the landscape today may be in some ways be the most transient. Humans also have transformed farming. Approximately 38% of the planet's ice-free land is now devoted to agriculture. Fertilizer factories, for example, now fix more nitrogen from the air. Massive amounts of soil eroding off denuded land are increasing sedimentation in some parts of the world. Loss of forest habitat is a major cause of extinctions, which are now happening at a rate hundreds of even thousands of times higher than during most of the past half billion years. And probably the most significant change is the change in the composition of the atmosphere. Carbon dioxide emissions are colorless, odorless, and in immediate sense harmless. But the warming effects could easily push global temperatures to levels that have not been seen for millions of years. Some plants and animals are already shifting their ranges towards the poles, and those shifts will leave traces in the fossil record. Some species will not survive the warming at all. And of course, meanwhile, rising temperatures could eventually raise sea levels 6 meters or more. Another image of our planet shows how our cars, how our cities, how our factories are changing this landscape. As carbon dioxide warms the planet, it also seeps into the oceans and acidifies them. Maybe they may become acidified to the point that corals can no longer construct reefs, which would register in the geologic record as a reef gap. And reef gaps have marked each of the past 5 major mass extinctions. The most recent one, which is believed to have been caused by the impact of an asteroid, took place 65 million years ago at the end of the Cretaceous period. It eliminated not just the dinosaurs, but also the plesiosaurs, pterosaurs, and ammonites. The scale of what is happening now to the oceans is unmatched since then, and we could say that our impact may look sudden and profound, or that it could look like an asteroid. This is what the scientists say. This is the metaphor that they use. So there are many questions as we begin to design this future of the Anthropocene. Whose responsibility is to make important decisions? How do we want life on this planet to be like? How we can make long-term changes towards a sustainable future, appealing, feasible, and accessible for individuals, for countries, for animals on a short-term scale. Um, so all this, of course, this requires what we call political leadership. Of course, thinking about leadership as an activity, there is a question of who should be leading the charge to secure the future sustainability of the planet. Organizational leadership, because there is a need to maximize returns of natural, human, social, and intellectual capital, as well as financial and manufacturing capitals, to think in terms of stakeholders rather than shareholders. So we need a root, a branch approach to these issues. And I thought leadership also because we should focus our attention to the purposes to which leadership is being put, and to develop how to develop a better understanding of how leaders can be motivated to engage in this change, its effort of change. So, what are these actions towards a positive Anthropocene? First of all, explore new partnership to achieve and secure environmental gains. Um, we need to rethink the role, of course, of governments as primary enablers of large-scale change as existing and emerging political projects shift past norms. Um, there are already many social movements that have emerged in response to these changes. Um, and communities are also are increasingly acting to conserve biodiversity and promote sustainability at a large scale, when at the same time national governments usually fail to do so. Indigenous communities and group conservation priorities describe all these prevalent climatic changes and concerns, and these are actually very useful. We need to reconcile the inequitable division of conservation funding. Nature conservation is chronically underfunded in most of the world, due in part to this inequitable division of wealth and resources among countries and within countries, making, of course, the globe's biodiversity and ecosystem services at risk of loss or degradation. Um, Conservation finance equality between wealthy and poor countries will be necessary to ensure conservation for a good Anthropocene, which at present is difficult to envision without profound change to the global economic system. Um, and find what works and scale it appropriately. Action towards a positive Anthropocene should be inspired by tangible examples in which an action has led to environmental, economic, and social successes of some degree. Maybe an approach that builds off existing successful initiatives by recognizing the presence of bright spots among the doom and gloom scenarios often presented. It would be very interesting. These bright spots could be positive examples of successful actions, and this could be implemented in other systems or scaled up to increase the scope of these actions. Embrace, celebrate, and share progress, no matter how small. By deconstructing conservation actions into smaller components, we can point to practical and attainable targets and celebrate success along the way. The often negative surrounding conservation challenges in our increasingly accessible media, for instance, may discourage rather than encourage sustainable behavior. Um, and always we need to follow the evidence and act accordingly. This idea of evidence-based conservation, environmental management emerged in the last 2 decades and represents, of course, a promising path. Scientific information is more accessible than ever before. Technology continues to facilitate our ability to collect big scientific data sets, facilitating the synthesis of scientific information. Um, of course, this concept of evidence-based conservation has not yet fully embraced because the interventions so far are not based on the best available scientific evidence and do not consider diverse sources of knowledge across disciplines or cultures of regions. Um, so we need this, and at the same time, another action could be how to redefine our relationship with environment, because we need to understand and improve our dynamic relationship between ecosystem services and human well-being in this changing world. Um, Individuals have a unique relationships to their environment based on their experiential and observational interactions specific to them and their surroundings. So through direct contact with the natural world, we may develop compassion beyond our interest and foster an attitude of environmental stewardship. Um, so human connection with a healthy environment is necessary to achieve the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Um, and of course, professionals should promote the development of methods and incentives allowing for nature to play an integral role in society. For instance, we could promote green spaces, building green spaces in cities, or encouraging exploration of natural environments. In Canada and Australia, there is a marketing for national parks, for instance. In any case, support and promote the national agreements for global governance because global connectivity has fostered international agreements that allow transboundary management of wildlife and resources. It allows a worldwide collective efforts towards achieving a good Anthropocene. We can mention some international agreements, the Montreal Protocol, in 1989, the Paris Accord, United Nations 2015. All these agreements show these environmental concerns and the desire for sustainability. So we need to continue to encourage and contribute to the national agreements for global governance and support the Sustainable Development Goals. Engage in dynamic and adaptive conservation management. The path towards a positive Anthropocene will require, of course, flexibility, will require adaptiveness. And we need the conservation institutions, we need decision makers. Professionals need to adopt forward-looking goals and implement dynamic strategies specifically designed to prepare for and adjust to current and future drivers of environmental change. Also, we need to engage in long-term conservation-minded thinking and management. Human views towards nature should be dynamic and learn from past mistakes to avoid need for restoration. Sustainable resource management is fundamental to ensuring a good Anthropocene. We can learn from past mistakes to incorporate more sustainable practices in the future that could minimize the need for mitigation and restoration for anthropogenic activities. Use Financial levers to encourage desirable conservation outcomes, and also innovative policy tools utilizing financial incentives to encourage biodiversity and ecosystem conservation have important potential to advance environmental goals. Market-based instruments are popular examples of such tools as they look to work in service to the environment by addressing environmental externalities and seek ways to make technology an ally. Technology alone will be impossible to produce golden solutions. But technology can contribute to our goals. Technology should be embraced as an ally for achieving a good Anthropocene. Um, because all these conservation issues are often socio-ecological and technological innovations offer an effective means for bridging social and ecological divides. Um, we can mention the case in Canada of an indigenous guardianship program, which actually we develop, it's an environmental program which combines technology capacity and it's very efficient and effective. So this may be the most prominent uptake of technology degrading social and ecological realms will be exemplified by increasing social connectivity through social media and mobile platforms. In any case, we need to foster the incorporation of conservation values into existing institutions, include the incorporation include all these democratic processes and multiple voices. Why this is important is that conventional science is not alone is not enough to succeed. We need to embrace, in order to embrace concepts associated with other worldviews and knowledge systems of human-nature relationships, it's important to help inform and interpret solutions and lead to innovation, identification of multiple trajectories. So we need to include multiple diverse voices in conservation policy formation in order to ensure different knowledge sources and perspectives. So collaboration among various groups on conservation projects would facilitate this process. The interaction between knowledge systems requires the development of functioning tools for transparent, for valid ways of integrated knowledge. And also interesting to engage local and indigenous communities. Why? Because partnerships with indigenous communities must always be fostered when we conduct projects, for instance, on traditional lands, or projects with which they may share interest. These partnerships are essential for advancing knowledge and legitimacy of conservation science. So indigenous communities typically have extensive knowledge of ecosystem processes derived from local long-term ways of knowing that can what can help to guide all these planning and strategies. Promote the reduction of human consumption and production. We talked about technology before. Technology is often viewed as a way to decrease the effects of production on the environment as it allows for more efficient production with lower costs and environmental impacts. But unfortunately, technology has carried most of the environmental impacts associated with production, especially in more developed countries, as higher efficiency and lower costs seem to promote higher consumption and waste. For example, there is a double the amount of food needed per person per day available in developed countries. So this overabundance of available food promotes overconsumption and increased rates of obesity and high amounts of food waste that further degrades the environment. Overconsumption of food and other goods quickly exploits natural resources beyond sustainable levels and contributes to losses, of course, in biodiversity. So in this case, how we can do, we need campaigns, childhood education programs, social media campaigns can play a very important role, provide opportunities for women and exploited people. One of the more important challenges is managing the human population and help, for instance, women or young people participate actively in this sociopolitical landscape because women can usually have fresh outlooks, have new innovative ideas, so they have unique perspectives, and they can help a lot. The lack of female involvement may limit the breadth of the knowledge, and prioritize young generation because young people are the future, the leaders of the future, and there are those who have all this energy and passion in fighting for a better and more sustainable future. We need to attach responsibility to include outreach and engagement in the scientific model. Um, so this requires enthusiasm and passion, and rethink education and training to focus on effective communicating strategies. Also, it's interesting. And in case you want to see, we talk about climate change. If you want to read, it's a new book of Bill Gates, How to Avoid a Climate Disaster. Recently, I have read this book, how we can, the kind of solutions that are the breakthroughs that we need as citizens, as consumers, or as employees or employers. And as educator, I'm an educator. I'm working at the Greek Ministry of Education, the Directorate of Educational Technology and Innovation, recently and launched environmental program, which is called SOS, We're Changing the Earth's Climate. It is addressed to students of primary education. It is not accidental. Primary students are those who need most environmental literacy, environmental awareness. So this is a program which combines STEM education with environmental awareness and arts. Um, it's based on sustainable development goals, and during this program, children will have the opportunity to learn about the climatic zones of the Earth. We get acquainted in various ways in which humans intentionally or unintentionally affect the Earth's environment, especially its climate. In this way, children will realize their own involvement and responsibility towards climate programs, and they will cultivate their creativity to find solutions. I have integrated some STEM activities there. Children can build meteorological stations, for instance, or they can take measurements, they conduct experiments in nature. So there are many outdoor activities. And through these activities, students have the opportunity to experiment, to create, to collaborate, utilize experiential, exploratory, discovery learning methods, collaborative approach, and the digital tools also, computational thinking. So this way, they will be aware of human interventions that negatively affect their climate. They can understand how it is important to find solutions to the problems. They can realize that we all have responsibility to protect this climate, and it's this project. It's actually tries to sensitize teachers and students to help them cultivate the concept of active citizenship and help the students at an early age to deal systematically with these hot issues, social complex social issues, and develop their ecological consciousness and their environmental responsibility. Thank you very much for your attention, and for any question here.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your rich content presentation, which can impact our knowledge seeker surely. After your presentation, I hope our knowledge seeker can learn something new, which was our only intention. Learn and grow together, IGP knowledge seeker. Once again, thank you so much, dear ma'am, for your presentation. Now, ma'am, it's time for our question answer session, which is the one more valuable part of our regular webinar. Honorable ma'am, please stay with us. After a short video, we will back in our session part 2, which is the question answer part. Dear IGP knowledge seeker, please ask your question in the comment box as much as you want to know from our speaker. Thank you. After question answer, we have an webinar certification and online quiz competition. Dear IGP knowledge seeker, please ask your question in the comment box as much as you want to know from our speaker. Thank you. After question answer, we have an webinar certification and online quiz competition. Dear IGP knowledge seeker, please ask your question in the comment box as much as you want to know from our speaker. Thank you. After question answer, we have an webinar certification and online quiz competition. Dear IGP knowledge seeker, please ask your question in the comment box as much as you want to know from our speaker. Thank you. After question answer, we have an webinar certification and online quiz competition. Dear IGP knowledge seeker, please ask your question in the comment box as much as you want to know from our speaker. Thank you. After question answer, we have a webinar certification and online quiz competition. IGP knowledge seeker, please ask your question. We are waiting for your questions. Ma'am, I think after your wonderful presentation, there is no more questions from our participants because all the participants can understand the topic very clearly. So once
Mhm.
again, thank you so much, Honorable Ma'am, for your time in IGP. We have learned a lot from you with new topics. It will add some value to our day-to-day activity along with our academic and professional growth. Honorable Ma'am, hope to see you again with a new topic and a new day. Thank you, ma'am. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Honorable ma'am, before we move to the next webinar certification process, if you want to leave this studio, you can, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. See you next session next month. Thank you.
Welcome, ma'am. Dear IGP Knowledge Seeker, it's time for our webinar certification process, the most attractive and powerful part of our regular webinar. After a short video, we will back with our webinar certification process. After webinar certification, we have an online quiz competition and quiz certification. IGP Knowledge Seeker, it's time for the webinar certification process, the most attractive and powerful part of our regular webinar. After a short video, we will start our webinar certification. After webinar certification, we have an online quiz competition and quiz certification. Today, some technical problem, we cannot provide a certificate code. We provide our certificate code in a short time. Thank you. Today, our some technical problem, we cannot share our certificate code. We provide our certificate code in a short time. Thank you. Dear IGP Knowledge Seeker, it's time for the most engaging part of this webinar, which is an online quiz competition, which is our regular webinar activity. Now, time for the online quiz competition. To join the online quiz competition properly, please follow my instruction carefully. Now, time for the online quiz competition. To join the online quiz competition properly, please follow my instruction carefully. Go to www.fido.com and find today's quiz code or scan this QR code for direct joining. Quiz code is Global IGP. After a short video, we will start our quiz session. Please join in Slido with the code and the code is Global IGP. Please join in Slido with the code and the code is Global IGP. Please join in Slido with the code and the code is Global IGP. Please join in Slido with the code and the code is Global IGP. Please join in Slido with the code and the code is Global IGP. With 33 people, we are going to start our quiz session right now. Our first question is Anthropocene proposed geological approach dating from the commencement of significant human impact on Earth's geology and E. Option 1 true, option 2 false. Option 1 is the right answer. 93% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Himalayan is holding the first position. Our second question is when opponent of economic development referred to the Anthropocene, they are concerned most with option 1, the need to reduce the risk of a third world war, option 2, the increasing impact of human on the environment. Option 2 is the right answer and 81% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Christiana is holding the first position. Our third question is which of the following sets of words is best associated with the term anthropocene? Option 1, neoliberalism, free trade, and common markets. Option 2, global warming, population growth, and species extinction. Option 2 is the right answer, and 94% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Himalayan is holding the first position. Our fourth question is Anthropocentrism. Option 1 is a people-centered EVS. Option 2, technology-centered EVS. Option 1 is the right answer. 66% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Himalayan is holding the first position. Our fifth question is what do scientists believe in the culprit that is causing anthropocene existence? Option 1, dinosaurs existed left room for mammals. Option 2, human activities. Option 2 is the right answer and 91% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Himalayan is holding the first position. Our sixth question is what is the meaning of Anthropocene? Option 1, era of man. Option 2, era of dinosaurs. Option 1 is the right answer. 97% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Himalayan is holding the first position. Our seventh question is the answer refers to what? Option 1, a period when human activity has become a geological force. Option 2, fast time period in Arts Street. Option 1 is the right answer, and 85% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Himalayan is holding the first position. Our eighth question is, and the topic is option 1, age of scientific human impacts on Earth's natural system. Option 2, the peak of the environmental movement. Option 1 is the right answer, and 100% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Himalayan is holding the first position. Our ninth question is, what does anthropocene mean? Option 1, profit center. Option 2, human center. Option 2 is the right answer, and 100% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Himalayan is holding the first position. Our last and final question of the evening session is, Anthropocene cells attends to option 1, increase impact of human activity on the environment. Option 2, temporary solution during times of scarcity. Option 1 is the right answer, and 100% people are right here. Congratulations to our online quiz competition winner, top 10. Congratulations again. Slido will take a few minutes for finalizing the result, and after that, we will issue our online quiz competence certificate on our official Facebook page and group in Institute of Global Profession. Congratulations to our online quiz competition winner, top 10. Congratulations again. Slido will take a few minutes for finalizing the result, and after that, we will issue our online quiz competence certificate on our official Facebook page and group in Institute of Global Professional. Congratulations to our online quiz competition winner, top 10. Congratulations again. Slido will take a few minutes for finalizing the result, and after that, we will issue our online quiz competence certificate on our official Facebook page and group in Institute of Global Professional. At the end of our session, we can say properly fit your skill, never stop learning, cause life never stop teaching us. Be happy and stay safe. See you again and again. We want your participation in every program. If you want to live a happy life, try to a goal, not to people or things. Albert Einstein. Before I say or hit the end like button, again wants to thank all IGP knowledge here for your active participation as always. See you again in the next session. Thank you.